Hey, Jim Wolf here with dating advice for men who love women. So how can you be more mysterious with women? Starting today. In this presentation, I'm going to give you 9 easy to use and powerful tips that will make you more mysterious and therefore more attractive to women. And let's start out with what being more mysterious is not. It doesn't mean that you act aloof and pretend that you don't want her. Okay, so that's not what we're talking about here. A lot of guys eventually figure out that they don't want to be needy with women because that's unattractive. And so instead of being needy, they start pretending like they don't want her. Okay, and that's not what we're talking about today because that doesn't work either. So if you can't be needy and you also can't pretend you don't want her because neither of those things work, what can you do? Well, the most attractive way that you can be is interested in her and also not needy at the same time. Okay, so being interested is great, just being needy is not. And here's the thing, most of the time when you're interested in a woman, she knows you're interested. Okay, so if you try to pretend like you're not interested in her, that's actually just going to show her that you lack confidence, which is unattractive. So why do we want to be more mysterious with women? Well, because first of all, if you do it right, it shows confidence, which is really attractive to women. And the second reason is it actually lets her participate in the relationship with you. That's basically all we're doing. When we're talking about being more mysterious, we're just letting her participate in the relationship. We're letting her think about you. We're letting her wonder about you. We're letting her create an image of you for herself instead of you just telling her about all your insecurities and kind of crushing that positive image of you that she has. It's called a positive illusion. And you want to let her create her own image of you instead of trying to force what you think about yourself onto her. That's all we're doing here. Okay, and the positive image that she creates of you in her own mind is going to be a lot better than any kind of image that you try to force on her from your perspective. It's going to be much more attractive to her. So you want to just let her do that. And studies have shown that when two people are dating, if they both have positive illusions about the other person, their relationship quality is better. So this is better for you, it's better for her, and it makes her much more attracted to you. So when you are more mysterious with a woman, you are more valuable to her. And she's going to increase your value in her own mind. And it doesn't have anything to do with reality. You could be the most amazing guy in the world and have self-esteem issues and express all of your insecurities, and then she's not attracted to you anymore. Or you could be not that good of a guy and be a little mysterious, and she creates a positive image of you. So what we want to do is be a good guy and also allow her to see that on her own. That's what being mysterious with women really means. And if you're worried about losing her by being a little more mysterious, don't. Because there's only 2 kinds of women who won't like you more if you're a little more mysterious. Number 1, women who aren't interested in you anyway. And number 2, women with bad attitudes. All right, so if you implement some of the things we're talking about today and it ends up driving her away, that's either because she wasn't interested in you anyway, or she doesn't have a good attitude. And that's good for you because you'll stop wasting your time with her and move on to women who are interested in you and who have good attitudes and who you would enjoy dating. Now, if she is interested in you even a little bit, implementing what we're talking about today will make her like you more. And remember this, frustration is similar to attraction in the beginning stages of dating. Frustration is very similar to attraction in the beginning stages of dating. If she gets a little frustrated with you that you're not chasing her like every other guy, that's good. If she gets a little frustrated that she's not sure if you're going to ask her out again or not, or she gets frustrated that you're not texting her 3,000 times a day, those are good things for you. You have to ask yourself if you would rather have her short-term approval or her long-term attraction and love. Do you want her to like you now or love you later? Do you want her short-term approval, which is cheap, or do you want her attraction and her love, which is a little more expensive? So I encourage you to ask yourself that question and then stop being so selfish and let her wonder about you, because it's better for both of you in the long run. And now let's jump right into 9 ways you can be more mysterious with women, starting right now. Number 1, let her talk more than you. Let her talk more than you. She should be talking about 60 to 80% of the time when you're with her. And this is really good for you in 3 ways. Number 1, she thinks you're a good listener, which is a really attractive quality. Number 2, she actually feels closer to you. We don't feel close to people who share a lot about themselves with us. We feel closer to people who we share ourselves with. Okay, so if she's sharing a lot of herself with you, that's what makes her feel closer to you, not when you're telling her all about yourself. And number 3, you seem more mysterious. So this is really good for you because you're doing less work and you get all those benefits. You seem more mysterious, she feels closer to you, she feels more attracted to you, and she thinks you're a good listener. And this is why I don't really like routines. Besides the fact that they kind of turn you into a robot and they're not very natural, one of the reasons I don't like routines is it shouldn't just be you talking for an hour. When you're interacting with a woman, your job is mostly to get her talking. You want to encourage her to talk about things that make her feel strong, positive emotions. So let her talk. And how can you do that? Well, one really easy way is just to ask open-ended questions instead of yes/no interview type questions. So instead of saying like, do you like Mexican food? Instead, ask her a question like, hey, what would you do if you had $1 billion in the bank and never had to work again? That's an open-ended question that allows her to talk about something positive that she feels strongly about, and you can kind of see her values for a long time. So she can talk about that for a long time. It's not a yes or no question. Another example that you could use is, hey, what's your dream vacation and why? So you want to use open-ended questions and then let her talk. Now, you want to be able to share a bit back as well. Just let her talk a little bit more than you. Number 2, sometimes use cold reads instead of questions. Use cold reads instead of questions. So instead of asking her the traditional question of, hey, where are you from? Instead, a more interesting and mysterious way of doing that is to just make a guess. So you're going to make a cold read. And you can say something like, you're from Arkansas, aren't you? All right, so instead of asking her, hey, where are you from? Just guess and say something like, hey, you're from Arkansas, aren't you? Now here's the thing, when you make a cold read like that, only one of 2 things can happen. Either you're right and she'll want to know how you know, which makes you seem really mysterious, or you're wrong and she'll want to know why you thought that, which also makes you seem more mysterious and therefore more attractive than if you just asked her, hey, where are you from? You're from Arkansas, aren't you? Is much more interesting than where are you from? And you can use a cold read for any of the standard interview questions. So instead of asking, hey, what do you do for a living? You can say, hey, you're a nurse, aren't you? I remember a few years ago when I first met this girl and I used a cold read with her and it made her more attracted to me for the whole rest of the night. So basically she told me that she was in a sorority at a particular university. And I just guessed, I said, oh, you're blank, blank, blank sorority, aren't you? And I got it right. And she had no idea how I knew that about her just by looking at her and talking to her for 2 minutes. And that made her more attracted to me right away. And those are the kind of reactions you're going to get from women as well when you use cold reads instead of just asking them boring questions like every other guy. And by the way, I just happened to know the sorority system at her university, and I figured based on her look, there were only about 3 or 4 possibilities that she could be in, and I just happened to pick the right one. It was just a complete guess. Okay, so that's what you're going to do now. Just guess something about her, and if you're right, she's going to want to know how you knew that, and you're going to seem really attractive and mysterious. Or if you're wrong, she's going to have to know why you thought that thing about her, and that also makes you more attractive and mysterious because now she's coming back at you with some interest. She wants to know how you got that right or why you thought that about her. And now you're having a much more attractive conversation. So try using cold reads instead of questions. Number 3, reveal yourself slowly over time. Reveal yourself slowly over time. A woman goes out with you primarily to get to know you. So if she doesn't know everything about you yet, she has to keep dating you. I'm going to repeat that. A woman goes out with you primarily to get to know you better. So if she doesn't already know everything about you yet, she has to keep dating you. So don't kill the party. Don't tell her everything about you all at once, because that's really boring and not mysterious and not attractive. So reveal yourself to her a little bit at a time. How can you do that? I'm going to give you 3 ways. Number 1, when she asks you one of those interview type questions, answer with a silly answer first and then a real answer second. So she says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" You don't just say, "Oh, I'm a software engineer." You can, but that's a little boring. So instead of that, when she says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" you say something silly like, "Oh, I'm a ninja." And then she's like, "Haha, what do you really do?" Then you say, "Oh, I'm actually a software engineer." Okay, so the first way that you can reveal yourself slowly is to give her a silly answer first, and then when she presses you for a real answer, give her the real answer then. Because we don't always want to be joking around. We also want to get real and share ourselves with her. We just want to do it slowly over time and make her work for it a little bit, because then she values that information more and she's more attracted to you. And a second way you can reveal yourself slowly over time is to keep your answers general and then let her dig for specifics if she wants. Okay, so keep your answers general and let her dig for specifics. For example, again, if she says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" you can say, "Oh, I work in technology." So instead of just saying, "Oh, I'm a software engineer at X and X company," you just say, "Oh, I work in the technology field." And then if she asks a follow-up question like, "Hey, what exactly do you do?" you can say, "Oh, I work with computers." And then if she says, "Well, what do you do with computers?" you can say, "Oh, well, I'm a software engineer at XX company." Okay, so start with a general answer and then get more specific as she keeps digging for those. And here's the thing, there's only so many interview type questions that most people ask each other on dates. So it might be a good idea for you to think about the questions that you usually get asked on a date and then come up with these answers for those questions so that they're ready to go before you go on your date. That can make it a lot easier for you if you're not used to this kind of communication style. And then the third way that you can reveal yourself slowly over time is to do fun activities with her instead of trying to have deep conversations. Studies have shown that new shared experiences creates a much stronger emotional bond than having some kind of deep conversation. So if you really want to connect with her, focus on connecting with her emotionally, not with your words. And you can do that by just doing something new for both of you and having a really fun time with her. And that allows you to have fun and build an emotional connection with her without revealing too much of yourself, which is really, really great. And then the last thing that I'm going to say about revealing yourself slowly over time is to never brag. Because not only does bragging show a lack of confidence, it also makes you less mysterious. So let's say you have a really cool house and a cool car. Don't tell her that on your date. Let her discover that after you take her there after your 3rd date. And she sees that you have this huge, amazing house and you never said anything about it. You just got double points because not only do you have an awesome house that she can hang out with you in, she also knows you could have bragged about it and didn't, which shows an extremely high amount of confidence and is incredibly attractive. So you can be more mysterious just by never bragging and letting her discover all of your good qualities and all the awesome things that you have on her own. Number 4, tell stories and use the 3rd person. Tell stories and sometimes use the 3rd person when you're talking with her. For example, instead of bragging about being courageous, if you want her to know that you're courageous and that's one of your best attributes, instead of telling her that directly, what you want to do is tell her a story that communicates that really cool thing about you. So for example, if you want her to think that you're courageous, you can tell her about the time when you were really scared to go skydiving, but you went anyway. And you can go into detail about how scared you were and how nervous you were and how it felt when you did the jump and how proud of yourself you were afterwards. Okay, so instead of telling her like, oh, I'm really courageous, tell her a story about when you were really scared to go skydiving and then you did it anyway. And when you tell her a story like that, you're letting her reach the conclusion that you're courageous on her own. That's what all of this is about. We want her to come to the conclusion that you're awesome on her own. And being more mysterious is how you accomplish that. And then sometimes use the third person when you're talking with her. So this is something that my girlfriend does a lot. When she doesn't like something that I'm doing, instead of saying like, hey, I don't like this about you, she says something like, I don't like it when people X. So she doesn't make it personal. She makes it more general and uses the third person. Okay, now there's two ways that you can apply this when you're on a date with a woman. Number one, never put anyone down when you're with her. You don't want her to think that you're judgmental, because if you're talking about a specific person behind their back to her, she's going to assume that you're going to talk about her that way behind her back as well. So you never want to put anyone down directly. But what you can do is say something general. For example, you could say something like, I can't believe people still smoke these days, versus, can you believe Shirley still smokes? That's so stupid. Okay, so when you're with a woman, you never want to directly put an individual down. So an alternative way to talk about stuff like that, if it's important to you, is just to make it general. I can't believe people still smoke. So work on that. And a second way that you can apply that on a date is to say something indirectly about you and her that helps your cause. For example, you could say something really general in the third person like, you know, I hate it when a girl is super attracted to me and they're a little afraid to show it because I think it's awesome. It's nothing to be embarrassed about, especially if I like her too. And I hate it when people are judgmental about showing their interest in each other. So if you know that she likes you and you want her to kind of express that a little bit more, you could just say something like that in the third person, like, you know, I really hate it when a girl is super attracted to me and she's just afraid to show it because she's worried that she might be judged. I really, really hate that, especially when I like her too. Now, when you say something like that, odds are she's going to understand that you're talking about you and her, but there's still a little tiny bit of doubt that maybe you're not. And that's where being more mysterious comes in. So she will pick up on that message and she'll assume it's about you and her without you being so direct about it. Because if you just said, hey, you're interested in me, why aren't you showing it? That's really kind of like too personal, it's too direct, and it could feel a little weird to her. But if you make it kind of general in the third person, like, I hate it when a girl's really attracted to me and she doesn't feel like she can show it because she's afraid of being judged. I really hate that our society is like that. If you say something general in the third person, she's going to feel more comfortable with it, and she's still going to interpret that it's probably about the two of you. So try that as well. And number 5, this is a really, really big one. Be okay with silence. Be okay with silence. From now on, there's no such thing as an awkward silence. There is only awesome silence. There's no such thing as awkward silence. There's only awesome silence. When you're having a conversation with a woman and it stalls a little bit, it's okay. You don't have to fill every second with her with your words. Let her re-engage the conversation with you sometimes. Be 100% comfortable with silence, and she will be too. Be 100% comfortable with that silence, and she will be too. And by the way, what else do the two of you do that doesn't require talking? What else might the two of you do that doesn't require any talking? Think about that for a second. And then to get yourself used to silence and being comfortable with it, try this. I call it the 5-second challenge. For the next week or two, every time you're talking to someone, wait 5 seconds or 5 counts before you say the next thing. So when someone's talking to you and they finish what they're saying, pause for 5 seconds or 5 counts before you say something. Now, I tried this for 2 weeks and I was extremely surprised by the results. The other person almost always had more to say, and what they said after that silence, after that pause, was deeper and more meaningful. Okay, so practice that with everyone for a while so that when you're on a date, it's really easy for you to be comfortable with silence. And then number 6, don't face your whole body toward her the whole time. When you're on a date, don't face your whole body towards her the whole time. So that means you don't want to point your head, your shoulders, your hips, and your feet all at her all at once. Okay, that's called positive body language. And an easy way to be more mysterious and more attractive is just to angle one of those things away from her a little bit. So even if you're talking to her standing face to face, you can just angle your left foot at a 45-degree angle. Any kind of open or negative body language is going to make you feel a little more mysterious to her and more attractive, even if she doesn't notice it consciously. Okay, so don't point your whole entire body at her the whole time you're on a date with her. That's really intense and not mysterious at all. So when you're on a date, I encourage you to walk next to her. So grab a coffee, grab a smoothie, grab an ice cream, whatever it is, and take a walk with her somewhere if you can. Because now you're shoulder to shoulder with her, like people who already have rapport versus people facing directly at each other like they might fight. It's a lot of tension and a lot of pressure to face someone directly with your whole body. Okay, so you're going to be more attractive and more mysterious if you don't. And then if you're sitting at a table with her, instead of sitting directly across from her, if you can, sit at a 90-degree angle. So I like to sit at a square table at a 90-degree angle from her. And that forces you to have a little more open body language, and it forces you to kind of turn your head toward her when you want to, instead of just pointing at her the whole time. So that makes you naturally more mysterious and attractive just by sitting at a 90-degree angle next to her instead of directly across from her. So that's a really easy one you can use anytime. And then you want to give her more of that attention with your body as she earns it. So when you're first talking to a woman, when you first meet her, you don't want to have your whole body facing toward her. But when she starts answering your questions, she starts laughing at your jokes, and she's being really cool, then you can slowly turn your body more and more towards her. But don't start off with it that way, and don't point your whole body at her for your entire date. And that's going to make you more mysterious and more attractive starting right now. And then a related bonus to this, when you're having a conversation with a woman, don't peck. Don't lean into her during your conversation and then lean back. Just stay in the same position and relax and have a natural conversation. You can always raise your voice if you want, and that's much better than kind of leaning in and out of the conversation. And then number 7, smile with your eyes only. Smile with your eyes only. Work on your smirk. When you smile with your eyes, that's actually a real smile. Most people think that smiling is with your mouth, and maybe it is a little bit, but a real smile is a smile with your eyes. Now, when you smile with your eyes, you can also involve your mouth. And if you have an open mouth or you're showing your teeth, that's a sign that you're trying to build rapport and you're seeking approval. That's a sign that you're emotionally open, you're seeking approval, and you're building rapport. Okay, and when you have your mouth closed, that's breaking rapport, and it shows that you're not needy, which is mysterious. So when you smile with your eyes and your mouth is closed, you're sending her mixed signals. You're saying with your eyes that you're interested and open and sweet and awesome, and you're saying with your mouth that you're also breaking rapport. You also have self-control. And that's called push-pull. I'm sure you've heard of push-pull. Most guys either act really needy or they act aloof and pretend they don't want her. When you are 100% comfortable with being interested in her and you're also a little bit of a mystery, a little bit of a challenge, that's called push-pull. And when you send both of those signals at the same time, that's the most attractive you can possibly be. So smile with your eyes, but keep your mouth closed. Work on your smirk because it's really powerful. And you definitely want to practice this in the mirror until you get it down and it feels natural to you. And if you want, watch some celebrities. George Clooney is really good at the smirk, and so is Brad Pitt. So those are two guys that you can look at for examples of what is a very powerful smile with your eyes, with your mouth also closed. So definitely work on it because it makes you more mysterious and more attractive right away. And then number 8, Limit the communication between dates. Limit communication between dates. Remember that technology is only for setting up in-person meetups. Okay, technology is only for setting up the in-person meetup with a woman. Do not try to build your relationship with her over technology. You want to build everything with her in person. That's how we've built relationships for the last 200,000 years or so, and it's going to continue that way for a long time. So for the most part, you want to build your relationship with a woman in person. So you want to be cool, and if she texts you, you can text her back and stuff like that. You just want to keep your communication between in-person meetups to a minimum. So let her text to you be the last text in a conversation if it's possible. Now, again, you don't want to be rude, you want to be cool about it, but if you can, sometimes let her text to you be the last one in a conversation. So if she texts you like, hey, I had a great time talking to you today, good night, you don't have to say good night back. And it's not rude, it's actually just more mysterious and cool. So if you don't have to respond, don't. And then a day or two later, you can pick up the conversation with her. And another thing that you can do is try to keep your texts shorter than hers. Again, just like when you're having a conversation with her, she should be texting you 60 to 80% of the time. So if she sends you a 5-line text, send her a 3-line text back. Now, you don't want to get too crazy with this and count every single text that you send and all the lines that you send. Just be conscious of it, look at the big picture, and allow her to talk 60 to 80% of the time, whether it's texting or in person, as much as possible. Because if you do, you're going to seem more mysterious and you're going to be more attractive. And the guy that sends her a few texts between dates that are kind of fun and short versus the guy that sends her 3,000 texts a day, the first guy is going to be a lot more attractive and he's actually going to be successful with her, and the second guy is not. So limit your communication between dates, and also space out your dates a little bit. You don't want to go out on a date with a girl and then ask her out again the next day. Let her think about you. Let her wonder if you're going to ask her out again or not. So after you have a really fun date with her, don't say, hey, when can I see you again? Hey, when are we going to hang out again? Don't do that. Instead, just say something like, you know, I had a really, really fun time with you tonight. Hey, thanks for the fun time tonight. Just say that, and then wait a little while and ask her to hang out again. Okay, so space out your dates as well and let her think about you in between dates, because in between dates, when you're not there with her, when she's just thinking about you on her own, that's when you gain the most attraction and love points. It's not when you're with her running your mouth. It's when you're not with her and she's thinking about you. So let it happen. And then lastly, number 9, don't tell her how you feel. Show her how you feel by attracting her properly. Don't tell her how you feel. Show her by attracting her properly. You want to let her come to the conclusion that you like her on her own. So instead of kind of hanging out with her in the friend zone for a while and then after a couple of months saying, oh my gosh, I'm in love with you, instead of doing that, ask her for her number. Ask her out directly for a date. Hey, let's go to salsa dancing on Thursday at 7. See what she says. And then when you go on a date with her, by the end of the second date, go for the kiss. You want to show your interest in her in an attractive way by, in these couple of instances, being direct. So you want to ask for her number. You want to ask her out on a date. You want to go for the kiss. Show her you're interested in her. Don't tell her. Because you want her to come to the conclusion that you like her on her own. And you want to make it partly her idea to date you because she wants to, not because you want to. And now you're more mysterious, less selfish, and more attractive. And because I always over-deliver, I have 2 bonus tips for you. And these are for when you've already been dating a woman for a while, you're in a relationship, or you're married. Number 1, sometimes plan a mystery date or getaway. So every once in a while, you want to have a mystery date or getaway. So what you want to do is plan the entire thing. Plan the date, plan the weekend getaway, whatever it is. You want to plan everything and not make her think about that at all. Okay, so tell her that you're going to do something awesome. Tell her what time she needs to be ready, and tell her what clothes and equipment she's going to need for that activity. But don't tell her what you're doing. You want the activity itself to be a surprise. And most women are really going to enjoy this, and you'll find out quickly if she doesn't, and that's okay. You can adjust at that point. If she really, 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 really wants to know and she doesn't just say yes to it, that's fine. You can tell her. But most women, even if they're trying to kind of guess, really like that you're keeping it a secret from them and that you're planning everything. So try that out. Just say, hey, pack your bags. We're going somewhere fun this weekend. We leave Friday at 3 p.m. Or, hey, we're going to go do something really fun on Thursday at 7 p.m. You're going to want to wear comfortable, casual clothes and probably some tennis shoes. Or, hey, we're going to go somewhere really nice on Saturday, and you'll probably want to wear a nice dress with some heels. And the event starts at 7 o'clock, so we need to be ready by 6:30. So if you've been dating her for a while or you're already married, plan a mystery date or a mystery getaway every once in a while, and that's going to help keep that attraction alive. And then lastly, the second bonus, never get too familiar. Don't ever get too familiar with a woman. So when you have to go to the bathroom, close the door. Always close the door when you go to the bathroom. Keep part of yourself that's always just for you. And this is a trap that a lot of couples fall into when they've been dating for a while. They get way too familiar with each other, and it kills the attraction. So just remember, never get too familiar with her. Always keep a part of yourself private. That's just for you. And that's going to make you more attractive and mysterious over the long term. And lastly, as you're out there implementing the things that we just talked about, don't try too hard to, quote, be mysterious. You want to make these things part of who you are, which is an attractive man. So make these things who you are. And if you just focus on your life, how much fun you're having in your life, your mission in life, your vision for your life, your purpose in life as a man, instead of focusing on her, you're going to be more mysterious naturally. So focus on your life, how much fun you're having, your mission, vision, and purpose, and stop focusing so much on her. And that's going to make you naturally more mysterious and attractive. And remember that understanding this stuff doesn't really matter that much. You have to apply the stuff we just talked about and see what actually works for you. So I encourage you to pick one or two of the things that we just talked about that you like the most, go out and try it, and then come back and listen again, and then try the next thing. And then just repeat that until you've implemented all 9 of today's tips into your dating life. And now you know how to be more mysterious with women. And as a thank you for checking out this presentation, we have some free gifts for you. We have some advanced free training for you, and you can get it by going to datingadviceformenwholovewomen.com. That's datingadviceformenwholovewomen.com, or you can just click on one of the links in the description box below this video. So go grab your free gifts now. And if you're really ambitious and you want to attract a devoted girlfriend or wife, or you just don't want to get broken up with, cheated on, or divorced by a woman ever again, go grab a copy of my best-selling book, Attract and Keep Her, right now. Just go to attractandkeepher.com/system. That's attractandkeepher.com/system right now. I'm Jim Wolf with Dating Advice for Men Who Love Women, and I'll talk to you later. Cheers.